Someone broke into more than 70 storage units in Newport News. Police are looking for the thief. Meanwhile, victims are forced to dig through their belongings and determine if anything is missing. Robert Boyd has the story.
Well, at some point over Memorial Day weekend, a suspect or suspects broke into Extra Space Storage right here behind me and cut the locks to 74 storage units. However, in most cases, nothing was taken. It makes the tenants here wonder, what were they looking for?
I don't know if they were looking for something specific or they were just trying to cause some havoc. It's insane that they got through all those units.
What their objective was, I'm not really sure.
Jay Paris and Katie Blackman are among the victims to have their storage unit broken into.
There was some stuff opened, a couple of our boxes and some bags were open. It looked like they shuffled through some things, but to the best of our knowledge, we couldn't find anything that they'd actually taken.
However, others were not as lucky. Newport News police say some of the belongings being kept at Extra Space Storage turned up downtown.
You feel really violated when things like that happen.
Caroline Nichols says she doesn't even understand why a burglar would want her stuff.
Mostly knickknacks and stuff, that I buy at garage sales.
According to police, every unit that was broken into contained a standard padlock. All the units with the new circular locks were untouched.
They're harder to manipulate. Maybe renters need to look at possibly getting a disc lock for their unit.
Then there's Joe Mora. He just began moving his stuff into a storage unit Wednesday, and you could tell by his face he had no idea about the break-in.
Wow. I wish they would have told me that before I leased the space from them. That would have been nice. I almost want to turn this thing around and go back and find out why somebody didn't say anything to me.
Extra Space Storage declined to speak with 13 News Now, but according to the victims, the company did supply everyone with a new circular lock. And security video has also been turned over to police, which could be the key to making an arrest.
So I think a lot of families and people would like to put this to rest too, and just the feeling of okay, justice has been served.
Newport News Police is urging anyone with information about this break-in to call the crime line at 188-LOCK-YOU-UP. In Newport News, Robert Boyd, 13 News Now.
Newport News police tweeted tips to protecting your belongings and finding a good storage facility. First, make sure that access to the facility is secure and that you need a code or key to get in. Ask if there is 24-hour video surveillance. Make sure you can use your own lock. Keep an inventory of everything you put in the unit. Take photos of your items and record serial numbers and check your unit on a regular basis. Tonight, the partisan gridlock is finally over in Richmond, ending a battle over Medicaid expansion that has lasted several years. The Republican-controlled General Assembly gave final approval to a state budget, one that includes expansion to the program. The House had previously endorsed the expansion, but the Senate held out in opposition until today. The fight over Medicaid led to a standoff over the state budget this year. Democrats say Virginia is passing up federal funding that Medicaid would bring. Republicans, meanwhile, say the long-term cost is not sustainable. Democratic Governor Ralph Northam is expected to sign the budget in the coming days. In a statement, he said, "Today, the General Assembly sent a budget to my desk that will improve the lives of all Virginians. This budget doesn't just expand health care access to those who need it most, it also invests in core economic priorities like education and workforce training." House Speaker Kirk Cox also released a statement saying the budget first and foremost helps to grow Virginia's economy and includes the most conservative set of reforms to Medicaid. He says he remains concerned about the long-term cost of Medicaid expansion. Medicaid has become the largest government health insurance program, now covering 1 in 5 people. Newport News' incoming police chief is wasting no time getting to know his community. Last week, we met Chief Steve Drew after the city manager announced the appointment. Tonight, Drew held a meet and greet with the public. Chief Drew says improving relationships is top priority.
But just tonight, people have come forward, oh, we have this issue, or this is one of their concerns, or hey, we're concerned about this. That's exactly what I want. I want those communications to start. I want them to know I'm going to be accessible to them. This department's going to be accessible to them, and we're going to work together to improve the quality of life here in Newport News.
Chief Drew comes to Newport News from Richmond, where he served as deputy police chief. He takes the lead of the Newport News Police Department on July 2nd. 2 separate allegations of excessive police force are under investigation tonight. Authorities have released body cam video and dash cam video of both incidents, one in New Jersey and the other in North Carolina. ABC's Maggie Ruley has the story.
Don't touch me! Police in Wildwood, New Jersey, releasing the body cam footage of the moments that led up to that disturbing video that quickly went viral. Police spotted 20-year-old Emily Weinman with a bottle of alcohol. After she takes a breathalyzer test, police ask her for her last name.
All right. I'll give you one more chance to give me your last name. Just be cooperative. Okay, what's your last name?
I don't need my last name.
That's it, I'm done with you. Do you have cuffs on you?
No, man!
While attempting to arrest her, police say Weinman struck one of the officers.
My hair! What are you doing?
And that's when officers restrained her, punching her in the head. Those officers are now on administrative duty while the department investigates.
Maybe out with a male walking down the middle of the road.
A similar controversy in Raleigh, North Carolina. On Friday, a judge ordered the Wake County Sheriff's Office, the North Carolina State Highway Patrol, and the Raleigh Police Department to release all videos related to an April 3rd altercation between officers and 29-year-old Kyron Hinton, when officers responded to calls of a man standing in the street yelling at passing cars.
Police cannot continue to police.
The Wake County District Attorney charged 3 of the officers involved with assault with a deadly weapon, along with several other charges. Hinton was initially charged with disorderly conduct, resisting officers, and attacking a law enforcement dog, but those charges were later dropped. Maggie Ruley, ABC News, New York.
We are still working to get more details about a police situation that lasted several hours in Portsmouth. We brought you this as breaking news earlier. Police blocked off several streets in the Lake Shores neighborhood. All they would tell us is that they were working a situation. Neighbors tell us police and tactical teams swarmed the area. We will continue to follow the situation and let you know what we find out. Parents, do you know which video games your kids are playing? Well, a game called Active Shooter is sparking outrage. Players can either choose to be an active shooter or a SWAT team member responding to a school shooting. Valve Corporation has pulled it and was scheduled to launch next week on the Steam platform online. Reporter Amy Simpson has the story.
As the country is divided on how to handle school shootings, voices banding together this week against an online game called Active Shooter. Now pulled from production, the game was previously set to be released online in the beginning of June.
It is a little iffier if you're doing a lot of PC gaming because there are ways around restrictions.
Lindsay Bankel at Bits and Pixels says that's an issue with the sheer volume of games being produced online.
In my immediate circle, I honestly don't know anybody who thought that should have been online.
At her store, Bankel says customers need an ID or a parent with them to buy the more violent games. She says it helps to have a person vetting the customer inside the store, something that isn't easily done online.
You do go along the ESRB guidelines. You must be 17 or older to purchase an M-rated game.
One gamer inside Bits and Pixels thinks if Active Shooter is banned, maybe other games should follow suit.
If they ban that, they should ban Grand Theft Auto because you can run around shooting cops all day in it.
Even though the game has already been pulled, a petition against it continues to grow on change.org. Valve Corporation is the parent company of the online site Steam. Officials say the developer of the game is an online troll who was banned from the site but came back under a new name. More than 50 wounded veterans are riding from Glen Allen to Fort Lee as part of the United Healthcare Memorial Challenge, and part of the ride takes them through our area. This is a non-competitive and therapeutic bike tour. It's a 3-day ride that covers more than 200 miles. Today they rode through Henrico. Tomorrow they will ride to Williamsburg, and Friday they will ride from Williamsburg to Fort Lee. The ride benefits Project Hero, a nonprofit that helps veterans and first responders dealing with injuries or PTSD.
With Project Hero, it allows me an outlet for my PTSD. I have issues when I go home that I deal with, and by coming here I can pedal it out, kind of, and be able to get the camaraderie back that you lack from not being in the service anymore.
Injured veterans can take part in the ride for free. HRT is getting ready to celebrate the Tide's 10 millionth ride. The milestone happened back on May 8th. To mark the milestone, HRT is handing out T-shirts to light rail riders this week from 6 to 7 a.m. They will also be at the first Friday downtown street party to raffle off special passes. The Tide launched nearly 7 years ago.